let's get into it, man. I know you had a tough weekend. Just tell me what happened.
So it was my first paid live stream gig. This is what I've been working towards for the last 8 months, buying equipment, testing it. It seemed I was literally working until like a couple hours before the gig. So there's been a lot of things that have changed and that have needed to be tested. So it was my first gig. I was excited.
Congrats on the first gig.
Yeah, thanks.
I know we've had the chance to kind of hash through it, but like let's really dive in to what essentially was a fuck up.
Yeah, it was a fail.
But I mean, that
a live stream fail.
Everybody fails, right? And so let's dive into this live stream fail, because as videographers, we're used to what we do in that kind of capacity, but live streaming, especially with the onset of live streaming value as far as what the pandemic did, it seems like, let's do this.
Yeah.
But when you actually do it,
it's a lot.
Tell us about that.
So my thought behind it was, okay, I want good coverage. I want it to be as wireless as possible, so there's not any cables getting in the way, somebody tripping over something. And then that way you are able to create the angles that you want as well, right? So you're not impaired by the cable, You're able to move. You're flexible completely.
Like if someone just saw you, they'll think he's just shooting a regular wedding.
He's just shooting video.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was my angle, right? I was like, okay, I want to be wireless. I want to be a ninja out there with these big ass cameras and crazy tripods. So basically what went wrong, there's a list.
Okay. Start at the top.
Should have went earlier.
Time.
Now, I don't know if more than likely more time, let's even say an hour earlier, more time could have introduced more problems as well. And I'll get to that. Mm-hmm. Because everything's powered off battery. I can go full rogue out into anywhere where there's wireless or internet service, of course, which there wasn't that day. But I can go with my setup, plug it all into batteries, cameras plugged into batteries, and everything's supposed to work. So let's say we get there earlier, which is the idea. I should have got there earlier. Mm-hmm. I should have tested everything. Everybody's mic'd up. I'm not rushing at all, right? I thought I had enough time. I was wrong.
How much time was that?
I was going to give myself an hour to set up everything. I'm so used to shooting weddings for video, and like an hour, bro, that's like...
Yeah, you're set up and you're just
way
chilling.
More than... You need 30 minutes, and if the DJ's already set up when you're shooting video, you have 30 minutes, you mic a couple people, pop open your tripods, connect your audio, and you're good. Live stream... I think you need more, like, especially if you're doing wireless transmission, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're doing cellular bonding, there's all these different technologies that they need a little time. They need to boot up. You got to log in. You got to log in somewhere else. If there's some type of issue, you need to have enough time after everything's turned on in order for you to sort it out, right? So I would say hour and a half. Not on site, like at ceremony,
Not I've parked my car at the venue with an hour and a half till ceremony. No. You're talking my feet are in the back aisle, or my feet are in the chapel.
Yeah.
With an hour and a half till ceremony.
Yeah, maybe an hour if because an hour and a half you'd be parked, and then you're an hour set up. It's just there's still just so much that you have to set up. You're moving your studio like you have here, mm-hmm. and you're packing it up into your car, then unpacking it and hauling it into a ceremony, then resetting it up, unboxing everything, plugging all your cables back in, turning your transmitters, receivers on, turning your audio on, finding the bride, the groom, getting them wired up for their audio.
If they're even there yet.
If they're even there yet,
If
you
she's
know,
not like in the bridal suite,
she probably is,
right?
you know?
See, that's a huge, huge hurdle there that I'm like, I wasn't there that day, but I know Tom was helping you out, and good thing he was there, which is
Oh my
another thing. Like,
goodness.
you need another person, right?
I thought maybe you could do this job with one person, not the way I have it set up.
So
No.
I tried. Actually, was that on Friday? I might have been.
Thursday was the 13th.
No, it was.
Probably will never forget it.
It's funny because on that same exact day I was shooting, I did a mobile version of this, which is similar, right? 3 camera setup, except I wasn't doing a live stream. I didn't have the extra added layer of complication of a live stream, like you said, signing into all these accounts, systems checks on all these different levels. I could just show up, but still, packing the gear and unpacking the gear took way longer than I thought.
Yeah.
I did have a good amount of bags that I felt comfortable with my gear in.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. It's like, you don't want shitty bags. You want
Bro, I
I
got cases now.
Yeah. Like, you don't even have bags. You have cases. And I mean,
Case.
you kind of show us what you have and what you used on this fateful afternoon.
Yeah.
But underestimating the amount of time it takes and care and attention it takes to simply packing up, just moving from one location to another, even if it's the same venue, spot A to spot B to spot C.
It would be the same exact thing as your initial setup. There would be I mean, you would have to have a lot of time in between. So you could, like, let's say the difference would be, instead of loading up and packing your cameras again and your tripods, you walk one, but you have to walk one at a time, maybe, you know, unless you're able to carry 2 big tripods with 2 big cameras with monitors, transmitters on
But
there.
see, now you're asking for a small mishap.
Yeah.
One's going to tilt and hit a tree. Like,
some venues you can walk from ceremony to reception, or like it's a short distance.
like Lulu Palms.
Like Lu'ulu Palm. Shout out to Lu'ulu Palm, Farm Estate, North Shore.
That's right.
Some are not. Well, for instance, most of them are all walking distance, but walking distance with X amount of gear in your hands, you're gonna throw it in a cart. And then you're talking full breakdown.
Yeah.
Because that's how the stuff is set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I have for my cameras, because the cameras are, they're not the hardest part, but they're the most fragile part. That's what they are. In a bag, I found it's just not safe enough for this kind of thing. So whenever I did that production assistance, when I did that PA gig for the Jacquemus shoot that we did at Secret Island, whenever the guys built the cameras, these production REs, you know, just beautiful cameras, what they did is they built the camera, tested everything, then they throw it in a big plastic box with a bunch of moving blankets. There's your camera 1. Boop. John's getting that one. Somebody else is building camera 2. Boop. Peter's getting that one. So when you get to set, you turn it on and everything should be dialed. That was the idea.
See, but you're doing all of that.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I did all that like a couple hours before, you know.
So you had your cameras like set up, wired.
Almost wired. So they each needed to have their HDMIs from the camera to the monitor and monitor to the transmitter. But that was as simple as I could make it, because I didn't want to jeopardize any of the ports.
Especially when you're talking about transporting gear.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave it plugged in.
No.
You don't want to leave it locked on. It's always like that extra added step that's ensuring your longevity and your equipment is your investment.
Exactly.
But then you're sort of always juggling priorities because time, pressure, unforeseen circumstances, these things are gonna like.
It's real.
Oh, I mean, so yeah, go like.
I was excited though. I'm excited